In this video, I've recruited the help of my friend Moneymaster Jake to go through Trading212's 5 best ETFs for 2020. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Euan, and on this channel we talk about personal finance and investing in the stock market. And on today's video, we will be talking through the 5 best ETFs on Trading212 in 2020 and why you should invest in these ETFs instead of individual companies. So Jake and I also did a collab on his channel about the FANG stocks. So that's Facebook, Apple, Amazon, Netflix and Google. So make sure you go check that out after you finish with this video, and welcome Jake.
I'm Jake, also known as the Money Master, and on my channel we do personal finance, investing and entrepreneurship, as well as documenting my journey from a 20-year-old with student debt towards achieving financial independence in the long term. I also love Trading212, which is why I'm here today to discuss the topic of ETFs. So Euan, what is an ETF?
An ETF is an exchange traded fund, and you can basically buy and sell these just like you would with a normal share. And there are many types of ETFs on Trading212. So we have commodities, we have REITs, and we also have reverse ETFs, which are a special type of fund which actually you can short an index. So that means bet against it. So if it goes down, then that's when you make money. Today, however, we will only be looking at stocks and shares ETFs because these are the least complex and they actually mostly do a good job. But do remember that we are not financial advisors. We're just random people on the internet talking to you through a camera. So just make sure you do your own research before investing your capital. So the first and the best ETF in my opinion is the VUSA. So that's VUSA. This is my top holding personally at 62% in my portfolio, and it is the most talked about and the probably most known because it tracks the S&P 500. The S&P 500 is the biggest 500 companies across the US. And this will include the FANG stocks that we talked about earlier and on Jake's channel, so just make sure you go check that out. I personally love this ETF because it has a very low expense ratio at 0.07%. But there's this ETF that I actually found called the HTLB ETF, and it actually has a 0.0% expense ratio. And this is actually called the Hit the Like Button ETF. So make sure you hit that like button because it really helps the channel grow and the YouTube algorithm does like it. Let's get back to it. The VUSA ETF has a distribution / dividend yield of 1.51%, which is fairly low for dividend income sort of portfolios. However, it's fairly good because you still get the capital gains along with this, and because you're invested in a whole market, you should expect that the market will grow over a long period of time. So this ETF has actually returned a really good return of 17.5% for the last 5 years. So that is really outstanding, especially for something that covers a whole range of companies and is very diversified. Obviously you have to remember that past performance doesn't indicate future performance. However, hopefully this does indicate that there potentially is a market and a growth in that market. Warren Buffett is an advocate for investing in the US market, so the S&P 500 for example. So I think it is maybe a good play because he's obviously done something right, hasn't he? But it all depends on how you think the US market will cope with a giant Oompa Loompa running the country again. So we'll see. We'll see what happens in December, but that will definitely have an impact on the stocks and the whole entire market because who knows, he's a bit of a loose cannon, so just be wary of that please.
The next ETF is one to hold for the long term, as it is considered a little more risky than the last one. The Invesco Nas Tech 100 ETF consists of 100 of the world's leading tech companies from the NASDAQ 100 index, which has outperformed the S&P 500 over the last 5 years. Because of this, it has a slightly higher expense ratio of 0.3. So what are some of the reasons for investing in this ETF? Well, tech companies are constantly innovating and reinvesting back into their business to achieve growth in the long term. And by owning this ETF, you will be having the FANG stocks in your top 10 holdings, as well as some of the other big tech companies such as Microsoft, Nvidia and PayPal. To get an idea of the dominance and the growth potential of the tech industry, you only have to look at the last Q2 earnings reports. At the moment, there are two economies, the digital economy and the rest of the economy. and the digital economy is leaving the rest of the economy behind at the moment. With big tech companies likely to dominate in the near future, this ETF represents a great opportunity to add some growth potential to your portfolio in the long term. To find it, just search EQQQ on Trading212 and you can start investing in it from as little as 20p. But please do keep in mind that just because this index has grown over the last 5 years does not guarantee that it's going to continue growing, as many people regard the tech industry as overvalued. So do keep this in mind if you're going to invest in this ETF.
The third best ETF that we're going to be talking about is ticker symbol ISF, and this basically tracks the 100 biggest companies in the UK that are listed. I'm personally invested in this, and this gives me some exposure to the UK market and allows me to gain from when the UK market does well. One of the main reasons that I like this ETF is that it has a really good distribution yield of 4.42% as of today, and it also has a very low expense ratio at 0.07%. So far it does look good, however it hasn't actually performed that well in terms of the last 5 years, so it's only returned 1.5% annually, which is not great, but for 10 years average it has actually returned around 6%, so that is not so bad. Obviously it's not a perfect thing, but it just depends on how well you see the UK market doing in comparison to the American market. Personally, I think the American market has the bigger companies and the bigger innovation and potential for growth, so that's why I'm mainly invested over in the US with the S&P 500 ETF that I mentioned earlier. I also believe that the recession that is currently here will have a big impact on companies over in America, and then we'll see a lot of growth and new companies arriving and build on what is a already growing market in the US.
One of the things that both Euan and I love about ETFs is that not only can you buy indexes like the FTSE 100 and the S&P 500, but you can also buy whole industries like the next ETF on our list. You can find this ETF by searching for the ticker symbol ECAR, which stands for electric car, as this ETF covers electric vehicles and the driving technology used in them. So the kind of person that might want to own this exchange traded fund is somebody that cares about the environment and wants to take advantage of the irreversible shift towards electric vehicles, as well as someone who is a big fan of Tesla, as this is the top holding in this ETF. Out of all the ETFs that we've looked at so far, I would probably say that this is the most volatile ETF. It also has the highest expense ratio, as it is quite a specialist ETF. But this shouldn't put you off, as this ETF still offers great growth potential, as we've seen with Tesla recently, who have grown dramatically over the last year. This can also happen with the whole industry, as we see that shift continue to happen. Generally speaking, ETFs that have higher expense ratios usually offer higher returns in the long term. So this goes back to the point of diversification, and it is really important that you have a mix of ETFs, shares, bonds and mutual funds in your portfolio.
So the fifth one is ticker symbol UKDV, and it's one of my favorites for dividend investing, and it currently occupies 2% of my overall portfolio. This fund consists of 37 UK companies that are dividend aristocrats and offers a 4.82% dividend yield, and given how diversified this ETF is, it is very good yield. So this fund is obviously focused on dividend income and dividend yield. However, unfortunately, the capital appreciation side is not doing that well. The fund is actually in a 20% loss at the moment, but it's not all bad. The main reason for this is that it actually dropped 21% in the last 6 months. So that is a big chunk. The price of this ETF is not going to fluctuate too much because they are mainly invested in dividend stocks. So they tend to be blue chip stocks that are very consistent and they do not fluctuate as much as a growth stock would. So that's why there's not much movement. But obviously, because of Corona, there was a large dip, and unfortunately, that is why there is 21% in the last 6 months. So this ETF is never going to make you a huge amount of money in capital gains, but it can pay you a good return of 4.82% yearly, so it just depends how much you want to rely on that. I wouldn't suggest investing a lot of money, but it can be part of your portfolio. So it can pay you a nice healthy dividend, and hopefully it will grow a little bit and just get back to a stable point, but who knows? Only one way to find out. So that is it. That has been the 5 best ETFs on Trading212, and I hope you've enjoyed that. I know there's been some that have been up and down, but that's just the state of the market at the moment. I just want to say thank you to Jake for coming over and collabing with me, because it has been fun. Just make sure that you go and watch the video that we did together on his channel. The link will be in the description below. So I'll just send you back to Jake for his roundup.
Thanks for having me, Euan. It's been great fun doing these videos with you. I hope you guys now have a better understanding of which ETFs suit you. Let us know in the comments section. And as Euan said, be sure to check out the video on my channel where we dive into the stocks of Facebook, Amazon, Apple, Netflix and Google. See you there.
So thanks for that, Jake. Just a few words to wrap up. It is always good to diversify your portfolio. Choosing a number of ETFs is a very good way of doing it. Don't just put all your money into one. As you can see, that's what I've done. I've got a few different ones spread out across my portfolio, and then a few stocks. Not too much, but enough to sort of keep it a bit more interesting. And I just want to say I hope you've enjoyed this video, and if you have, please give it a like and comment down below who you think we should collab with next, and make sure you subscribe to both of our channels. As you may already know, I'm trying to hit 10,000 subscribers by the end of this year, so please, 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 any support will be much appreciated. So thanks again. I'm not a millionaire, but I'm trying to help you become one. So, peace.
On the list.
Moneymaster Jake from Moneymaster Jake.
You can find this next ETF by blah blah blah.
And we'll be going through the for 2020. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Euan, and on this channel we talk about personal finance. However, because it is a dividend aristocrat,